The iRacing Nurburgring 24 hours is underway as we speak, and yet you won't find too many people talking about the racing in Top Split right now. That's because so many eyes are on those 3 Team Redline cars that are sitting in the pits. You all saw the qualifying results. Team Redline, a name synonymous with dominance, absolutely smashed it. Gustavo Ariel put car 71 on pole, joined by his teammate Sam in car 69 on the front row. Florian Lebigre, just 1.4 seconds off pole, ended up in P7 for car 20 as well, putting Redline in a strong spot for the start of the race. This was shaping up to be a brilliant battle between the likes of Redline, Drago, ART, Williams and more. But then, as the starting grid graphics cut away from the livestream, the collective Simracing world let out a confused noise. All 3 Team Redline cars were in the pits. Not 1, not 2, but all 3. Straight away, my head said okay, something is definitely up here. I mean, for a team as professional and meticulously prepared as Redline to make the same error across all their cars, it was just too suspicious. The race got underway, led by Alejandro Sanchez in the 99 Apex Racing Team Mustang, and yet the confusion was thick. Commentators, spectators, and fellow racers alike, but the reasoning eventually surfaced, and oh boy. Redline had intentionally gridded with wet tyres and minimum fuel. Now, why on earth would they do that for a dry endurance race? Well, the thicker, wet tyres combined with a super low fuel load allowed them to pass pre-race tech with the lowest acceptable ride height for the Nürburgring. And let's not forget, the Nürburgring actually has a higher minimum ride height compared to any other track on the service, with 70mm at the front being the minimum allowed. By exploiting this, once they escaped the gridding procedure and immediately pitted, the thinner dry tyres and a full tank of fuel would put them 5.5mm below the minimum front ride height allowed. Essentially, they were starting the race with a car that was technically illegal. This would give them both greater straight line speed and better mechanical grip compared to the field. Over 24 hours, despite taking an initial 90-second disadvantage with the extra tank of fuel needing to be added, they would very likely overcome that deficit. Honestly, you've got to respect the sheer audacity. Sim racing is so unbelievably competitive these days, you're constantly looking for every little edge you can get. The fact that Redline was already first and second in qualifying, yet still wanted to push the envelope just a little bit further, just shows why they are as successful as they are. For a couple of hours, everything seemed to be going as normal. Then, the hammer dropped. iRacing steward Nim Cross entered the server and declared that under Article 8.1.1.4, which states members may not cheat or otherwise engage in conduct deemed by iRacing to be in conflict with the spirit or sporting code, and Article 8.1.1.9, drivers may not use nefarious tactics to gain an advantage in qualifying or racing, with which iRacing.com will determine what constitutes an advantage, Redline was in breach of the iRacing sporting code and would be disqualified from the race should they continue. It was a stunning development and a gut punch for a team that invested so much time and energy into this race, including a 24-hour long stream planned on their Twitch. Now, how did this impact the race? Well, it definitely took some of the shine off. When one of the biggest teams in the world is no longer competing and the eventual winners are likely overshadowed by the controversy itself, it leaves a bit of a hollow feeling. As for the community reaction, it's been a mixed bag, and a lot of people are calling for live stewards to be implemented for these special events, a complaint that's been floating around for years now. Some are calling it an obvious exploit, not a grey area at all, while others point out that it's something that could theoretically be done in the real world as well. The key difference, they argue though, is that real-world racing has post-race scrutineering, which iRacing currently lacks. So in iRacing, it doesn't matter if your car is under the minimum ride height after the race, only before it starts. This means if you can get through pre-race tech, you're golden, or at least you were golden. Whilst the 2 articles Nim mentioned are pretty clear and this situation clearly falls under those descriptions, this isn't exactly groundbreaking stuff. Trying to start a car under minimum ride height is nothing new. It's happened in countless races within Australia in my experience, and I know of teams that have used it in special events in the past, including at the Le Mans 24 Hours. You can even do this by starting with qualifying fuel and pitting at the end of lap 1. Personally, I see it as a grey area. Yes, it constitutes an advantage, but I don't think it was worthy of a disqualification. The easiest solution clearly is to incorporate post-race scrutineering into sim racing as well. But this raises a fantastic hypothetical. What if a race starts in wet weather and finishes in the dry? Theoretically, every team that starts on minimum ride heights in the wet would be exploiting minimum ride heights entirely by accident, given the 2.5mm tread difference between wet and dry tyres. My biggest question is, what if they had pitted after lap 1? Would this have been looked at in the same light? Or is it the fact that they did it technically before the green flag had even flown that caused such a backlash? Even if they hadn't started on wet tyres to gain that extra couple of millimeters and just did one lap on dry tyres with a qualifying fuel load, they would still have gained a small advantage. But I doubt it would have been looked at by some as blatant cheating and rather clever planning. But hey, at least Max Verstappen, who currently sits on 11 penalty points, wasn't racing, as the FIA could have used this to give him a race ban at the Canadian Grand Prix. It's certainly a situation that will be debated for a long time. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below.